Yay! Okay, I feel like huge success. Hey, everybody, it's Virginia. This is Cookbooks with Virginia. Do you want to win a free cookbook? Do you want to know all about reclaiming flavor through flour? Do you want to meet and interview and talk to the author of like the hottest baking book on the scene right now? Well, of course you do. So thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Virginia Willis. Every week at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, I have a show called Cookbooks with Virginia, and I love cookbooks. And it's sort of like it's an obsession. I write them, I read them, I collect them. I have immense respect for people who write cookbooks. It's such a work of art. It's a work of art from the author. It's a work of art from the photographer. It's a work of art from the publishing company. And I get to meet so many great people, and I am thrilled to pieces this week to have with me Jennifer Lapidus, of the author of Southern Ground, this absolutely gorgeous new book about baking and Southern flour and all of that. But I have to tell you, clearly, I'm not in my kitchen right now. So I am at the St. Augustine Food and Wine Festival, and yes, I'm double vaccinated, and I'm 2 weeks out, and I'm still walking around with a mask. So you think, oh my God, what's she doing at a food festival? Well, we're trying to be as careful as possible. So I'm so excited. St. Augustine Food and Wine Festival. So excited to be interviewing Jennifer. I see some folks. So let me just bring Jennifer on, and we'll get talking about her book. Hey,
there I am.
I know it gets a little backwards. I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. And oh my gosh, thank you for saying gorgeous, gorgeous, and hot, and all those wonderful words.
Oh my God, no! And well, it's the truth. It's not hard to tell the truth. So I have to also tell you that everybody, since you 10 Speed sent me a copy, I've been showing it to people that I've seen, and I'm like, oh my God, you have to check out this book. Oh my God, you have to check out this book. And everyone is just like, this is gorgeous. I mean, it's like gorgeous is the word, gorgeous. And I mean, people, it's maybe an overused word, but this is not a, look at this, y'all. Look at that. Just like boom. All right. So Jennifer, I want you to tell us your story though, because I think your story is so beautiful, and I want people to get to know you a little bit before we dig into the book.
Okay. But I just need to just say one thing about the gorgeous, which is the photography is from Rin Allen, which is an Athens, Georgia photographer. And she just really manifested the vision that we had for this book. So I just wanted to acknowledge Rin for her gorgeous photography. But and another Southerner.
It's a partnership.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and Athens, where Rin comes from, is where I went to school at University of Georgia, which is where I first started baking, or when I first started baking when I was in college.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah. So
we were maybe at the same party together. Because I went to Georgia too. I don't know. I don't know where you I graduated in 89, 88, 89.
Okay. Well, I graduated in 92. So
yeah,
we were overlapping. But
yeah.
Back then, before the World Wide Web and all the access we have, I was a history major, and I started baking on the side. And just wanted to ask, do you hear an echo? Are we good?
I hear a little bit of an echo, but not bad. You may hear a lot if you've got that second camera running.
Because I can just shut it off.
Let me see.
I can leave and come back. Yeah, I think I'll do that.
Okay.
On that one, just to.
Yeah, okay. I know it can be very distracting for you.
I'm like, I just want to talk to you. So, I was at University of Georgia, history major, started baking on the side, which was just sort of wanted to. I had never done anything like it before, but I started getting interested in something less intellectual, more hands-on. And I had just studied I was really intrigued with the Industrial Revolution and what had happened during the Industrial Revolution in terms of this shift from craft to industry and the reaction to the Industrial Revolution. What are we losing? So I wanted to learn how to bake bread. I'd asked my mom, and she she gave me James Beard's, Beard on Bread. So I was just like trying to find my way. There just wasn't that much. I mean, this was the early 90s. But I finally sort of found my way in terms of I was just baking, yeasted bread with all that goes into, flour, water, salt, honey, yeast, oil, it was like, and I was curious about these rapid rise yeast packets I was using because I figured that if they say rapid rise, then there's probably a less rapid way to do this, or they wouldn't be claiming rapid. So I had this gut sense that there was something that had come before. Of course, pandemic time, everybody's doing sourdough, but back in the early 90s, there really wasn't, other than San Francisco sourdough, which was
right,
and which was still like pinched with some yeast and pushed with the flavor on that, sour. What I was looking for was, a more traditional, I wanted to know as a history major, as somebody who then was doing this I was fascinated by the process and just had this visceral sense, so I wanted to figure it out. I finally found an apprentice. I opened the right doors, which was not easy. I mean, I can tell you the University of Georgia card catalog had nothing in it when it came to looking for information on bread, on natural leavening, what came before. So anyways, long story short, I found my way, got an apprentice with a baker in Marin County, California, doing this Flemish Dazen bread, this naturally leavened bread, which is a form of sourdough. The Europeans were calling it naturally leavened. Now everybody just calls it sourdough. But, there's a lot of different ways to a leavened bread, be it yeast or various forms of leavening that are natural, and various conditions you put it in that are going to create leavened bread. But back then, there was very few of us doing this. And I felt very determined to kind of bring this art form back. I didn't want to see it lost. And so I started my bakery, and I was a baker for 14 years. And in the process of what I did as a baker, I milled in-house. So that was sort of the first ingredient I needed for the bread I was doing. And I can tell you, freshly stone ground flour was not an easy thing to come by back then either, unless you went to a historic mill. But so, so I was milling in-house. I was, the idea of farmer, miller, baker wasn't really part of the story for me. It was just sort of, I was doing a wood-fired oven bakery. It was all, which was very connected to the type of bread I was doing, this old world method. And, but, I did think when I would mill, that this was its own thing, that this could be an art form into itself. But I was very focused on the bread, very focused on my cultures and my oven and the bakery, and raising my daughter at the same time. And so anyways, fast forward 14 years and I'm exhausted. And for some god-awful reason, I decided to shift my career to becoming a miller. And a lot of wonderful things came into play. Some things not so wonderful. In 2008, with our economic crisis, yay, beautiful pictures. There was a rush on commodities and the price of wheat hit the roof, and 130% increase.
And people don't think about that. I think that's something. I want to, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second, because I just want to remind people why we're here, right? So y'all, if you're just coming in late, I'm speaking with Jennifer Lapidus. She's written this gorgeous book, Southern Ground, photograph in Athens, Georgia. And I don't know if you knew this, Jennifer, but I'm a history major too. I always call it I'm a recovering history major.
Right. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. I had a professor, I think his name was Dr. Willis, and he told me at one point that I was a silly female that had no business being a history major.
Good old University of Georgia. Yeah.
Well, guess what, Steve? You're wrong. Because I think that food and what you're talking about with the natural leavening and all of this, like, it all has to do with history. So let me just show folks a couple of pictures. Oh, seeded rye with kvass. Oh my God, I can't wait to pick these things. So y'all, I want you to win a copy of this. Jennifer's telling us her story and how she got here and how she got this beautiful book. And but you can win a copy if you go to my Instagram feed. You'll see the cover of this book, and you're going to tag me, and you're going to tag Carolina Ground, which is Jennifer's company, and that's where they make all these beautiful flowers. So please do it. Please just get over there on Instagram and do it. I mean, it's just like, that's why we're here, so you can meet cool people. I want, if anyone has any questions about baking, hell, this is the time to do it. You have like a master person here who can tell you all about it. Uh-oh, wait, what happened?
I still see you.
You still see me, and I don't see me. Okay, there I am. I'm back. Okay. I'm having fun in a hotel lobby. So anyway, okay, sorry, Jennifer. I didn't want to.
No, it's okay. Fast forward. Started this flour mill because in 2008, when the price of wheat hit the roof, there was a big pause and look at, the idea of us bakers are very disconnected from our most essential ingredients. So there was a big move to regionalize, bring back the community mill. It's a nationwide, worldwide movement, really.
Wow.
So we were early on in the story, but now there's so many different mills across the country. Hey, Liz's sister, that's great.
I know, right? And Marcia, she's a dom too. That's awesome.
Nice. So, so I started Carolina Ground Flour Mill, and now we work with bakeries across the Southeast, up and down the Eastern Seaboard, or within the Southeast. And this book, Southern Ground, not only tells the story of the mill, but showcases, the baked goods that are coming from these bakeries. So I, as miller, standing between the farmer and baker, which was this, when I started with the natural leavening and wanting to bring back that form,
right?
The mill, it was that same ethos. I want to bring back the story of what does it mean to have a community mill. And so, with this book, I got to curate or orchestrate, this
sort of wonderful,
this story of, let's put it all in a book, let's organize it and give people the tools to work with, flour that's not just blended to spec, industrially processed, stripped of its flavor and nutrients. I mean,
it's stripped of its soul.
And it's super functional. It's super functional. It has helped us get from A to B. It is, there's a lot of value in it in terms of, like, if you're looking at it as a machine.
Yeah.
But yes, it does lack soul. And it's just, I can see that it made a lot of sense, but when you take everything out of it and you're just left with that starchy, white, functional endosperm flour, then you have to go back in and enrich it. And then, because there's no nutrients and there's no flavor.
People may not understand all of that. So y'all, we hear a lot about whole grain, that we're supposed to eat whole grain. And I really want y'all, this is a great opportunity. If you have any questions that you have, if you've been making bread during the pandemic, this is the time to ask a question. But what happens with the industrial flour that Jennifer is talking about is it's just starch. They've removed the germ, they've removed the bran, and all that's left is starch, and it's no longer whole grain. It makes it super shelf stable, right?
Yeah.
Just take super shelf stable because there's no goodie left in it.
And if you for our mill, we do whole grain flours, but we also sift. So we're removing part of that bran, but the oily germ gets crushed into that starchy endosperm flour. And that germ is the vitality of the wheat. That is what enables the next crop to germinate, so so, and it's flavorful and it's nutrient, rich. And so our flours tend to be, even our most highly sifted isn't going to be white because, and I'm going to see if I can just tilt the computer down so I can.
Yeah. Okay, so y'all, let me tell her let me just do two things before you do that. Okay. Let's do two things. So we've got a lot of Georgia Bulldogs here. It seems like Corlett Waller is here, and I know that and then Kathy is here, and then my dear friend Debbie, she knows that I was a history major, and Cynthia Stevens Grabart is here, and she's a dear friend who had surgery this week. So hey there. And your sister is here, Liz. Yay!
She went to Alabama, though. So.
Okay. Well, sorry, Liz, you're not here. Kind of not really. Okay. And so Liz, Jennifer's got this beautiful book, Southern Ground, and so she has this incredible mill, and she's got some flowers to show us. So I'm going to put you on solo layout so you
Okay.
can show some
Yeah,
of the
let me see
flowers.
if I tilt down,
Yeah,
you know, virtual world here. We're going to do our best.
yeah, do
So,
that.
but
Look, yes,
let's see.
perfect.
Does
Oh my
this work
gosh.
well enough? I sort of,
Yeah, no. You
I
can put
must
it down on
look.
the counter. We can see
Okay.
it. You can point
Okay.
and you can play show and
Okay.
tell.
Okay. So I think like if I just take one book down. Whoops. So
I know books have become like the new laptop holder. Right?
yeah, I know. I have these wonderful modernist bread books that are amazing in a lot of
So do
ways.
me a
And one
favor,
of them
pull the muffin tin closer to the edge of the counter, closer to you. Pull it in that
closer to
direction.
me,
Straight
like
back.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Super.
just like that. Okay, yeah,
So
y'all. So these are all flowers from your mill?
yeah, well, and it's really, I mean, a variety of from whole wheat right here to high extraction, which means we've sifted off about 15 parts, to our 75, which is as close as you're going to get to like a roller milled industrial flour in terms of extraction, in terms of what we've left in or taken out of the flour. But it's got it just feels oily. It's just a different product. And then our pastry flour, again, you know, high extraction, about 15 out, 75, and this is our cake flour. So we make this beautiful cake flour that
Oh,
is still just feels I mean, I mean, it's such a tactile thing that we're trying to do, you know, virtually, but rye flour, Renz Abruzzi rye that is this beautiful, and you can see, I don't know how well you can see, but there's
we can see
a
great.
very different hue. You know, the rye has a blueness to it. This is from whole, medium, light to a meal. This is a spelt, again, sifted. This is our Trinity, which was a blend, a mistake in the mill room, which is so fun. It's rye, pastry wheat, so soft wheat, bread wheat, which is hard wheat, blended together in our hopper and then sifted. And it's a lovely pastry all-purpose is what we call it. And then an actual all-purpose, which is a blend of a pastry flour and a bread flour that we sifted, only taking 15 parts out. That's called high extraction. So this is, you know, this language I'm speaking is, you know, if you go to a grocery store, you're going to see, you know, I keep saying, you know, bread flour, pastry flour, all-purpose flour. You're not going to see the variety, and these varieties are coming out with the regional mills. And
Oh my gosh,
and we shouldn't be afraid of it.
amazing.
Dive in. This is a white wheat, Appalachian white. It was bred for our region. It's a lovely bread flour. This is buckwheat grown in Virginia. This is malted barley, which comes from the Riverbend Malt House that we milled. They're malting, floor malting, southern grown barley for the brewing industry, and then we provide for bakers for a diastatic malt or a flavor forward sweetener. And you know, there's just such variety. I wanted to kind of point that out.
Oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous.
Just whole wheat bread or whole wheat pastry,
Right.
to really have fun with flour as a flavor forward ingredient, not just a container for everything else. And
I love that. And you talked about when we were doing our pre-meeting, y'all, she was talking about like functionality. So this is not just about functionality, it's about flavor. But let's just back up a second, because I know that you know this, obviously, Jennifer, but I don't know that everyone does. And I always use this analogy. People aren't aware, I think, and maybe some of you that are watching are, but you know, when you go into the grocery store, even if you go into a sort of cruddy grocery store, you can guarantee that there's going to be Red Delicious and probably Golden Delicious and then Granny Smith apples. And then if you go into like a fancy grocery store, there's going to be Honeycrisp, and there might be, like in the fall, there'll be heirloom varieties around. Well, what I always like to remind people is that that's the same thing with wheat, right? And you know how, like, for example, like some apples are good for pies and some apples are good for applesauce? That's the same with wheat. So when Jennifer is talking about, like, this is a pastry flour, this is an all-purpose flour, sort of what that means is that the natural inherent properties of that flour either are really good for bread because it's got a nice, like, strong, high protein, or they're really little delicate things, and it's better for pastry flour. So this beautiful book, Southern Ground, goes all into that. It's got tons of recipes from all over the Southeast. It's I can't even continue. I'm not going to use the word gorgeous again because that's just kind of ridiculous. I want these so bad.
Oh, and that's such a great recipe. That's from Levy in New Orleans, Christina. But and I will say, for anyone who feels intimidated by what I'm talking about, I really feel like anyone should be able to engage with this. And we get so intimidated with baking, and a big goal of mine was to make this accessible. Here's a cookie I made with it's in there. It's the buckwheat chocolate nib.
Show us your treat.
Gotta go there. Buckwheat chocolate nib and a biscotti. I'm not very good at this virtual world. But I will say, in terms of flavor, what?
I said I'm starving.
Oh, right. In terms of flavor, I had mentioned to you earlier that I was such a huge fan of your cobbler recipe in Food 52's Greatest Desserts. And right there was a great opportunity for me. I love this recipe, and I will choose the fruit and the flour that I want to combine. And it's that idea of the flour, even throwing in cornmeal or, using a whole grain like our Appalachian white, which is a white wheat. It doesn't have the bitterness. It has more of a semolina flavor. It can work in that application. And if it's the right fruit that I want to combine. So having those ideas of, I want to find the flavor
it's
and
a
the
whole other layer of flavor.
Yeah. And mouthfeel. And, so I say, don't be afraid.
Awesome.
Have fun.
Jennifer, I've got some questions for you. So that's great. And so Jill Nessanel, who has been on this show, who is a cookbook author as well, she's the veggie queen. So she's asking, wondering if you can malt things other than barley.
Yeah. Malting is sprouting. Basically, you are converting that starch to sugar. And when I apprenticed with Alan Scott in Marin County, California, everything we had was like everything came from the grain, and he made his own sweetener by malting that grain, and then we would roast it. So we would just allow it to sprout just a little bit to convert that starch to a sugar, and then he would put it in his oven. He had a pilot light on that oven and could just dry roast it, and then we would grind it in a coffee grinder and make a sweetener that way. That was just, in your own home, you can have fun with it.
No, and it's so funny because I think that people, like you said, people do get intimidated. But this is like, people have been making bread since people have been people, right? This is like, this is ancient stuff. And so it's just really beautiful. Okay, I have another question. We have a question from Corlette, who actually is a UGA grad as well. And she's asking, is cake flour the same as pastry flour?
It's a great question. So it's a great question and a little elusive for me, but just because, we call our crema flour a cake flour. It is our highly sifted flour that is made from a soft wheat and a pastry wheat. And it will perform well in your most delicate cake. And so part of the cake flour piece is also, where does the protein lie? And we grow soft wheat very well in the South. It's the grain that we grow the most of, and we pretty much out the gate are in the right window. I haven't ever had a pastry grain fall in our laps that we had to sort of micromanage for it to work in a cake application. But I also would say, if you're looking at a less delicate cake, I love our high extraction pastry flour. I will use it in a yogurt cake, or the recipes in the book where, choosing the right application so if you're going with a sturdier cake or a more rustic cake, don't worry. Pastry flour, again, it's the grain itself, the soft wheat is going to define that as a pastry flour. And yet our trinity, which is a blend of rye, soft wheat, and hard wheat that we've sifted, we say try this for a flavor forward pastry application. So I think that we get really caught up in sort of staying in these silos when it comes to,
Right.
big categories. And I really feel like, I mean, yes, you do not want to make a wedding cake with whole wheat pastry flour. That's just not
No,
going to be the flour
that
you
would
want
be
to
a bad
use.
hippie wedding cake, wouldn't it? That would be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
really
If you're
terrible
trying to do
hippie
a
wedding
white cake, so, there's certain places where you definitely want to choose,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
on the other end, if you're doing something that is, I mean, there's a lot of wiggle room. So
No,
it
it's
depends
cool.
on
But
the
what I
cake.
think, I think that what you explained so brilliantly is that flour is an ingredient, right? It's not just like this all-purpose thing, or literally all-purpose thing, right? Like, so just in the way that you would think about like using sugar or brown sugar or honey or agave or whatever, there are flavor profiles, there's different properties of it that are hugely impactful. It's not just like grabbing that back. Y'all, I can't even believe it. We're at the end of this. I want you to do two things. I want you to go to my Instagram feed and see the cover of this beautiful, beautiful book. And like me and like Carolina Ground, and we're gonna choose a winner on Monday. And Jennifer, I've got some questions for you. Some just five little questions that I always try to like wrap up with. Okay, so other than your own cookbook, what is one of the last cookbooks that you read or thumbed through? Like, who is someone that how?
You just froze.
Did you hear?
It was
someone? Yeah, I'm gonna say it again.
Okay. Right. Okay. On the pastry end, I've been really having fun with Claire Saffit's Dessert Person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just love it in a lot of different ways. I really like her approach. On the bread end, I think I'm forever impressed with Sarah Owen's sourdough. There's just again, sort of, let's enter this world in a very simplified way and not be so intimidated. I'm really enjoying these sort of less technical approaches just to allow more people in, to democratize this world of baking that has been, sort of, I mean, I know that you're French trained, and I have such respect for the pastry in France, and
but it's pretty uptight. It's pretty uptight, right?
The rules, and so I think that if we can sort of be okay with just stepping in and fumbling, but discovering along the way. I'm always learning when I bake. Always.
No, for sure. No, I agree. No, I understand. There's some Instagram feeds that I follow that are French pastry chefs, and I'm like, oh my God, it's gorgeous, but I don't want to eat that. It looks like it's been touched too much. You know what I mean? It's kind of great. Oh my God, Dave West. I recognize Jennifer, but who's the other chef? Okay, what is in your baker's kitchen? What is your most indispensable tool?
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you. It's my okay, this one isn't orange. It's green, but it's usually orange. This is, but and the second one I would say is the white. I do use both of them because I like to mix by hand. When I made these biscotti, which I am going to put some content on our Instagram with some instructive, because I want to do a demo on doing the biscotti, but I do mix it by hand, and I use these tools. To me, it's such a interesting traverse from bread baker to getting into the pastry end of things, and cakes and cookies and all of that. So, but this one, the
scraper, the scraper's a thing.
So, and then I also like my ruler because if I want to cut, I like my ruler.
Yeah, so. A kitchen ruler is a good thing to have. There's no doubt about that. So my next question is, of the 5 flavors, sour, salty, bitter, sweet, and umami, like, what's your go-to? What's your favorite?
Bitter. I am bitter. Give me a Campari any day. Now, I love radicchio, and I really I
have to come see you. I feel like we would have so much fun hanging out.
Yes, no, you do.
So far, history major and bitter. That's like the two things. I'm like, yes, I love bitter too. So, this is kind of a nutty question. There's so much like food. And I'm at a food and wine festival. There's all this going on. Like, So is there like a favorite baker that you like to watch either on YouTube or television or something like that? Or is there a favorite chef, or is there someone that you follow on Instagram? Is there someone that you wanted to share with us about that?
Honestly, I have some old Julia Child videos on my iPad that I've saved there. That is my favorite. I love her, and I love her videos.
Yeah.
To me, they're just nobody comes.
Nobody
she gets
comes
all
close.
this fish on the let's show how to cut fish, and talks about knives, and she was just brilliant. So
no, you're preaching to the choir here. One of my I love Julia, and obviously, and then one of my favorites is Jacques Pepin. I feel like I say it almost every week.
I just found Jacques Pepin on Instagram, and I've been watching his videos.
He's like exploded again. He's like during the pandemic, he's doing all these videos.
Spam steaks, and so I am.
But I don't ever watch him when I don't learn something. I mean, I
for sure.
Yeah, and it's not.
I do prefer gas over electric ovens, or stovetop. So
yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the last question. What is one of your favorite food memories? Like, food. Being in college and seeking out how to bake bread. Like, I feel like we had a similar journey. Like, I was the one baking in college. But what is one of your favorite food memories?
I have a handful, but I think when it comes to bread, it was when I first stepped into Alan Scott's kitchen. This was just a magical world, and I had already done one apprenticeship that was not the bread I was trying to. It was sort of mired in the health food industry, doing this naturally leavened bread. It wasn't what I drove out to California and walked in, and there was the bread that I had been trying to find for about a year, and there it was, and people in the kitchen all talking. Yeah, it was like all the voices went, and then it came. I mean, Alan was such a interesting character. I mean, he had, I think James Beard even visited him. I mean, there was from hippies to highly acclaimed chefs. And he was just doing this it was just, but that bread, the smell, the look, the taste, that will always
Oh my God. I just I am super starving now. And just thinking about, that, like the picture that you paint about what bread can be. Like, we think of it as the most simple thing. And it is, but it is really, I mean, the staff of life, right? It is, I think it's just so integral to our humanity.
Yeah. Prime symbol.
So y'all, I cannot recommend this book highly enough. Southern Ground. I'm going to come camp out on Jennifer's,
oh no, we're going to have
so we can cook together.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm going to end. Look at that. Where am I going?
Pizzeria Gregario in Safety Harbor, Florida.
That's so beautiful. So Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for getting the flour together. Thank you for writing this beautiful book. Everyone's going to go to Instagram and check out A Copy to Win. And if you don't win it, I want you to support your local authors, people. Support your local bookstores. Jeff Bezos has enough money, so order it from Malaprops or.
You froze again. Are you back?
What? Are we here? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, no, it's really my pleasure. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I'm gonna follow up with you after this, but I really appreciate you being a guest on the show today.
Well, this has been a treat. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for watching today. We was a little crazy in a hotel lobby. I'm super excited to be here at the St. Augustine Food and Wine Festival, the first one since I've been to since long before the pandemic. I simply cannot recommend this book enough. I cannot wait to cook from it. I want you to go to Carolina Ground and check out what they're doing there, what Jennifer's doing. Please, if you're interested in baking, this is going to be, you can feel it. right? You can feel it. Sometimes I've been doing this a long while. You can feel it when a book is not only going to be a classic, but it's going to be an award winner. And you heard it here first from Cookbooks with Virginia. So thank you so much for watching today. I hope to see you soon, and bon appetit, y'all. Bye-bye now.